Okay, so we have here the trend continuation alerts indicator version 1.1. I'm going to show you how to get the correct settings that for your style of trading on the time frame and pair that you use. I'm going to use, an example of GBP USD H1. So if we come in here and reset those settings, right, we have EMA trend pips. Well, the trend EMA that this indicator uses is the 100 period, and the EMA trend pips is how many pips that trend will move over 5 candles. So, for example, here you can see, let's just pop it in here from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see it started up here, went down to there, and it moved down by 12 pips. Okay, so in this example, the stronger the trend, of course, the more pips it will use. Move. So you can change this to whichever value you like, and of course, for higher time frames, you will need to increase it because there'll be more pips per candle, and then lower time frames there'll be less. Breakout pips. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. Right, so here is a trend coming, get a retracement and a continuation of the trend, and that's what this indicator is about. So how many pips, if this was the signal candle, and then you get your alert here, how many pips above here do you want this candle to go before you think it's a valid alert? Okay, so I will keep it at 2 pips for an H1, go lower for lower time frames and higher for higher time frames. Maximum wick size. Okay, this one I very rarely change because this is purely the size of the candle in relation to the whole candle. The size of the wick in relation to the whole candle. So what we can see here is we opened here and we had lots of buyers, then a little bit of selling pressure, which then made the candle close here. If there had been more selling pressure, the candle would have closed lower and the wick would have been bigger, which may be a sign that the trend is not going to continue. You want a smaller wick. So I choose here the maximum wick size 0.15, 15% of the candle. If you want it to be even more likely, you can lower this number, but I wouldn't take it any higher. The trend EMA I very rarely change. This one I very rarely change because this isn't dependent on the time frame, because it's dependent on the candle size. So whichever time frame you're on. The maximum candle ATR multiple. Actually, that should have reset to 1.5. ATR, average true range. So how big is this candle compared to these candles? If you were on M1 or M5, for example, and you had a big news event, this candle could be massive, and then it would normally have some retracement. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a continuation of the trend. So you would not want to take that if it was a very large candle in comparison to the others. So we'll leave that at 1.5 to start, and I'll just show you. Okay, so to recap, EMA trend pips, you increase that for a stronger trend and for higher time frames, and a decrease for lower time frames, and if you're not too bothered about the trend, which is actually what this indicator is for. Breakout pips, how many pips do you want the signal candle to break out above before it's valid? Max wick size, I don't change. Trend EMA, I don't change. This one I do change, but I have it at a certain value, but I'm going to show you that. Then, of course, you can put in the times of the day that you want this indicator to give you signals, because it can send them to your email or just in MT4 or to your MT4 mobile. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So we've got this on visual. You don't need a lot of data. It doesn't have to be in 2 or 3 weeks, just to show you some examples of that. So I'm going to start this now, put it on candles, get rid of the grid, let it get going. Here we go, collecting M1, and off it goes. Press skip to make it go faster. And I'm going to wait until we've got a couple of weeks worth of signals. There we go. That will do. Let's go back to the beginning and let's have a look. Oh, there is nothing. Actually, I knew that. And that's because of this. This means that the signal candle can only be 1.5 times the size of the previous candles. So if we change this to 5, and we do exactly the same thing again here, and then we wait till we've got a couple of weeks. There we go. Now, if you, obviously you would let this go for longer if you wanted to check it. Right, okay, here's a signal. So as you can see, so this was the signal candle here. You can see here's the trend. Okay, here's the trend. Here's the retracement. Oh, there's the retracement, and it broke out, and then it continued. So your stop loss would be underneath here, and then you choose your take profit depending on previous highs. Now, the difference here was that we changed the maximum signal candle ATR multiple. So this allows the signal candle to be up to 5 times the average true range of these previous candles. Not dependent on time frame because it's comparing it to the previous candles of the same time frame. So that doesn't matter per time frame. I tend to leave it on 5. So what you would do then, is this the correct setting for you? And is it the correct setting for your time frame, whichever time frame you're on? Well, what you do is you do what I've just done, get some data, have a look and see how many signals there were and how accurate they were. Once you know that those settings are working for the parent time frame that you're working on, you can save those settings like that. You can save the settings. Oops, sorry. Save the settings here. Just click save, and you'll save it as a file, which then you can load later. And that's the way to choose it. Then you could change. For example, if you changed to GBP AUD, you would find the number of pips would be probably greater than GBP USD for this value here and this value here. But you can test that out. You just take some settings, put them in, have a look at how many signals you get and how often you get signals, and then see if those are the good signals. So 4 or 5 runs and you've got your settings.